If there is one thing I learned playing Resident Evil 3, is that it doesn't matter how many times you fall down, what matters is how many times you get back up and smash your opponent afterwards. Resident Evil 3 has always felt like a criminally underrated game to me. Sure, it wasn't the groundbreaking leap forward that Resident Evil 4 would later become, it was released at the twilight of the original PlayStation era and in many ways felt like a standalone add-on to Resident Evil 2. That said, it introduced a surprising amount of new action-oriented mechanics, and they work shockingly well within the limits of fixed camera angles and 10 controls. The game only has a single campaign, but it makes up for that with the addition of live selection events, where you're forced to make quick choices that shape the outcome. This adds replayability and keeps the pacing dynamic and intense.
So long, suckers! Ah!
The story unfolds around the same time as Resident Evil 2, but this time from the perspective of Jill Valentine. While she's reflecting on the wheels of justice and the consequences of action or inaction, a full-blown zombie outbreak engulfs Raccoon City. Her plans to take down the Umbrella Corporation quickly shift to something far more down to earth: escape. Fittingly, the game was released in Japan under the title Biohazard 3 Last Escape, a phrase you'll see over and over again every time you reload the game. The goal is clear, but accomplishing it is anything but easy. For one, the streets are overflowing with zombies and all manner of grotesque monsters. Second, Jill is, let's just say, not dressed for the occasion.
She had a full set of curves, and the kind of legs you'd like to suck on for a day. She was giving me a look I could feel in my hip pocket.
Don't get me wrong, I firmly believe everyone should be free to wear whatever the hell they want, but when the good old zombie apocalypse is happening outside, maybe throw on a few extra layers of protection, girl. And third, there is a parasite-enhanced tyrant, also known as Nemesis. He's the main pursuer, the central antagonist, and the proud sponsor of my childhood nightmares. His mission is to hunt down and eliminate every last member of STAAAARS, including Jill. Much like Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, Nemesis simply doesn't take no for an answer, and he will chase you from the opening minutes right until the end credits. Wait, what the... Nemesis? Hold on a second, guys. Okay, I think we're clear now. Finally, as we learn near the end of the game, the US government decides to take drastic measures to erase the city from the map with a nuclear strike, so yeah, you better hurry. The good news is we're not completely alone. At one point in the story we meet the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasures Service Team, so-called UBCS, and if you're feeling a bit confused about why such an evil corporation would have such noble soldiers like Mikhail and Carlos, whom even becomes playable for a bit, then don't worry, things start to make sense once you find out they are also just lab rats, being used to gather field data on the effectiveness of bioweapons.
Typical.
This also clears up the lingering question from Resident Evil 2, what exactly happened to the other 5 tyrants that were dropped into the city. For most of the game we'll be wandering the streets of Raccoon City, exploring a wide variety of locations along the way. I really love that after the first 2 games, we're no longer stuck spending the majority of the story locked inside a single building. The streets feel grim, part ominous, part melancholic, in the best possible way. You can practically feel the hopelessness and loneliness creeping in as you walk past wrecked cars, shattered shop windows, and occasional corpses, not quite sure if they're really dead or they have yet to find peace. The atmosphere is amplified by the excellent sound design. The monster zombies blend with the howling wind, while depressing cello plays in the background. Once again, the soundtrack is absolutely on point. The approach to level design is also shifted here. It's much closer to the earlier version of Resident Evil 2, the one fans known as Resident Evil 1.5, with realism as its guiding principle. You'll visit totally ordinary locations like a diner, a gas station, a newspaper office, and even a chapel. You'll also briefly return to the RPD to pick up Jill's signature lockpick, though this time it's much simpler, more linear version of the station. Another change is the variety of zombies. There is a wider mix of appearances here, different shirts, jackets, even police uniforms, which makes encounters feel a little fresher. Once again I played the GOG version, and visually it doesn't look quite as good as Resident Evil 2. Characters' textures are a bit blurry and constantly jittering. You'll even run into occasional visual artifacts, especially in the opening sequence. I also tried running the PlayStation version on Dark Station and noticed that characters looked much sharper there, though the backgrounds were a bit blurry. Maybe there's a way to fix that by tinkering with the settings, but I couldn't really make the visuals dramatically better. Dude, can't you see I'm a little busy here? The biggest surprise for me was just how hard Resident Evil 3 turned out to be. I was eaten by zombies, mauled by dogs, swallowed by a giant worm, decapitated by hunters, and honestly I don't even want to talk about what Nemesis did to me. That's strictly between me and my therapist.
Oh no. Oh no, not again.
Oh, sorry. It was a little stuffy in here. I thought I'd give the window a crack.
Huh. No problem.
So where were we?
The thing is, the gameplay loop heavily revolves around constant encounters with Nemesis, who, unlike Mr. X, is not so easy to shake off. And by constant I mean 11 times throughout the game, which you can finish in about 6 hours, if you don't really know what you're doing. That's basically once every half an hour you're forced into showdown with this toothy bastard. He is fast, he hits hard, he'll chase you from one screen to the next, with the sole exception of save rooms. Just to spice things up, he'll occasionally show up wielding a rocket launcher, but the most dangerous thing about him are his grabs. Oh boy, if you ever get cornered with him in a narrow hallway, you're done. This asshole will slam you to the ground while you're frantically mashing buttons, sweating and crying, begging Jill to get her ass up faster, only for him to grab you again. And if your health isn't in fine status, the second grab will finish you off. Luckily, Resident Evil 3 introduces a brand new dodge mechanic. If you press the aim button right before an enemy attack, or the fire button if you're already aiming, Jill can dodge the hit. Not only does it save you from damage, but it can also create space to either retreat or counterattack. If you do get grabbed, you can also break free faster by mashing the directional buttons along with circle and X. And finally, this is the first Resident Evil game to introduce the quick 180 turn, a must-have for survival horror genre. So yeah, Nemesis is a tough cookie, hard to escape, harder to fight, but he can be beaten. And in fact you're encouraged to take him down. Defeating him not only gives you some breathing room in the area he spawned, but also rewards you with valuable loot. The first 2 victories grants you the parts to assemble the Eagle, rapid-fire handgun. The third and 6th gives you a first aid spray case that holds 3 sprays in a single inventory slot. The 4th and 5th reward you with parts for the lever action shotgun, a slightly stronger, faster version of the basic shotgun. It's fine for zombies, but against hunters and brainsuckers who show up more frequently around this stage, it feels awkward. To deal maximum damage you have to let these very fast, very dangerous enemies get uncomfortably close, because at mid-range it barely scratches them, so yeah, I'd give it a decent 5 on the groovy meter. The 7th victory gives you either an assault rifle or infinite ammo if it's not your first playthrough. But taking him down eats up a ton of ammo. Early on, when all you have is a handgun and a shotgun, I spent around 55 pistol rounds just to bring him down. The shotgun wasn't even worth trying, it requires close range and with its slow rate of fire, it was basically a suicide. Eventually you'll find yourself calculating with almost mathematical precision how much ammo you can spend on regular enemies, just to make sure you'll still have enough left for the next Nemesis fight. And unlike previous games where ammo was given out in small amounts but ultimately enough to kill nearly everything, Resident Evil 3 forces you to avoid optional fights and rely heavily on dodging. Ammo scarcity is balanced with the new ammo crafting system. Throughout the game you'll find gunpowder A and B, combine them with the reloading tool and depending on the type you'll get either handgun or shotgun ammo. You can also combine powders. 3 at the same time yields more ammo. A plus B creates gunpowder C. But seriously, Gunpowder C is awesome, because it lets you craft a variety of grenade rounds, including the insanely valuable freeze rounds, which turn Nemesis encounters into a walk in the park, as well as the powerful Magnum rounds. Finally, once you've crafted ammo at least 8 times, you unlock the ability to make enhanced ammo for the handgun or shotgun. Stronger, but only usable with the based versions of those weapons. Another small but handy new feature is the addition of the classic explosive red barrels and chargers scattered across the levels. Sure, it's a pretty common thing now, but I want to give credit to Resident Evil 3 for being the first in the series to implement this still satisfying way of clearing out zombie hordes. We've been talking a lot about the action side, but exploration and puzzle solving remains an important part of the game. I actually found the puzzles a bit more interesting and challenging than in previous entries. Most of them are fairly logical, some solved with a simple arithmetic, some give you the hint right under your nose, and others, to be honest, I just brute forced my way through. Oh my god, he's coming. Guys, I need to move to another screen. Okay, if you've played at least one game in the series, you're probably familiar with the Mercenaries mode, where you race against the clock, mowing down enemies to gain extra time and rack up points. Well, it actually debuted right here in Resident Evil 3. It's no surprise that this mod stuck around, later showing up in almost every mainline entry, and even getting its own standalone game on the 3DS. This minigame has an addictive gameplay loop, very reminiscent of the Forced Survivor mode from Resident Evil 2. You take on the role of one of the UBCS members, Carlos, Mikhail or Nikolai, each equipped with their own loadout, and your goal is to make it from the tram to the warehouse safe room as quickly as possible. On your way, you'll be running through areas swarming with monsters, including several Nemesis at once.
Shit.
Unlike Forced Survivor, you only start with 2 minutes on the clock, and the only way to extend your run is by killing enemies. Chain together combos by dropping several in a row, and you will earn even more bonus time. At the end of the run, or if you die trying, you're awarded cash, which can be spent on powerful weapons or infinite ammo for the main campaign. Resident Evil 3 may not offer anything radically new compared to Resident Evil 2, but it's a still worthy sequel that neatly wraps up the Raccoon City incident. It brings together everything that made the classic era of survival horror so strong, so if you do not afraid of fixed camera or tank controls, I can wholeheartedly recommend Resident Evil 3. And while we're on recommendations, I also strongly recommend leaving a comment, hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. That way I stay motivated to keep making these videos and you get fresh content in your feed. Win-win, right? Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Oh my god, can you just leave me alone?